Okay, we are recording this. All righty. Well, welcome to the PAS training session. For those of you who are here, anytime you have a question, please stop me and make me explain further. Okay. I definitely want to answer as many questions as I can. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And I have a PowerPoint I'm going to pull up. Okay, put this in slideshow mode. All right. There we go. Can you see the slides? PowerPoint. Wonderful. Good. Here's one more person. All righty. Okay. So what we're going to use for the program administration scale is the Talon book. And you have it right here on your screen. I hope that you have this book in your possession because you will definitely need it. This is the big assignment in ECED 5613 because this whole class is built around how to run an early childhood program. And especially for people who intend to be directors or assistant directors. But this is really for anyone that works in early childhood. There's so much good practical information in it. So the program administration scale, what's the purpose? Why are we even doing this? It is used for program self-assessment. There are many times that administrators will do this on their own to see where they're at. It's also used for technical assistance and program monitoring. We know that independent early childhood facilities are often, well, they're always assessed by state agencies to make sure that they're doing the right thing. This is one of the tools that can be used to assess them. It's used to train program administrators. It's used for research and evaluation of program quality, especially in programs that receive federal funds, and those programs require a great deal of research and evaluation. And it's also used for public awareness. You can use this as a director if you want to raise awareness of how great your program is. Just look at what you're doing and how well you're doing, and this helps you to improve and to share that with the families. Okay. So the first thing that you're going to have to do is actually familiarize yourself with the PAS book. And it just looks like a bunch of gobbledygook when you ruffle through it. I admit to it. However, if you start looking at it page by page by page, it really does make a lot more sense. So just leaf through it and see what you notice. Then make an appointment to visit a child care center, and you're going to want to interview the director or administrator or the assistant administrator or whoever will allow you to be interviewing them. However, it does have to be someone in the administration end because teachers won't know the answers. And if you work in a child care facility, go to your director and interview your director. If you don't, then you'll have to look around and see who you can meet with. Make some phone calls and make your appointment. Make sure they know you're going to be interviewing them. I will have a letter posted on our Blackboard page that you can give to them with information about what we're doing. Assuring them that everything in this is completely private, that no one is ever going to see any of this information other than your instructor. Then you're going to go to the child care center at the appointed time. You're going to complete items 1 through 25 in the PAS book. If you open up your PAS book, please do. You'll see that they're all numbered. It's all 1 through 25. And you're going to look at the left-hand side of the page. For instance, if I go to number 1, hiring and orientation, it's on page 10. It gives you an idea of what hiring practices may include, since that's what the whole thing is about, hiring and orientation. These are explanations in the notes section on the left. Lots of times when you go through the actual page where you put your responses, it's a little bit confusing until you read the explanation and definitions on the left-hand side of the page. Once you're at the child care center, you're going to put a Y or an N next to each of the numbered items on the actual page. When there is a D next to a criterion, it means that you can get the information by viewing a document. Say, for instance, do they keep records of the children having their shots? Well, you really don't need to even ask anybody. You can just see that they've checked it off, that they have a document on that.
Turn it off. Yeah.
So that would be, and then the O next to a criterion means that you can get the information by observing. It might ask you if you see something in a classroom, and so when you walk around, then you'll see if you can observe that. Any questions so far? Okay, I must be doing better than I thought. Okay, this is what the score sheet looks like. On page 17, I just took a picture of it and put it in here. When you're going through this, all of the score sheets, 1 through 25, always start on the left-hand side. The inadequate, these are criteria that make the program inadequate. And you really, in a wonderful, perfect world, all of these are going to have a no next to them. It's going to be N, 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 because no one wants an inadequate childcare center. These, you can put a Y or an N, obviously, but these should all be N. In a perfect world, the rest of these would all be Y, but we don't live in perfect. That's all I can say. So when you say, for instance, if you have N, 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 and N, you still need to go all the way over here, no matter what. Never stop. Just make sure you've filled in every single one. And when you're doing this, make sure you take good notes, handwritten notes. I don't care if you use a pencil or a pen. I don't care how terrible you scrawl. Make sure you take good notes, because memory dulls. You know, you go to do the observation and then you put it down for 2 weeks, and then you come back and go, I should write my report. Well, by the time you open this page up again, you're like, okay, now why did I mark that Y? What did I see? What was that like? You want notes scrawled all over your page here to help you remember what personnel and cost allocation actually looked like. So make sure you just put as much as you can down on here in your book. This is all in your book. And then you'll notice here they have a final score for this page. You notice the final score for this page is a 4. And the way you get the final score is on page 6 of your PAS book. There is a scoring mechanism. And I'll let you pull that up on your book. And it starts out, first you go from here to here. A score is 1. A score of 1 is given if any indicator under the 1 column is rated yes. That's an automatic 1. Even if you have yeses all over the place on this side, doesn't matter. If there's one inadequate item, that's it, they're a 1. And then you would circle 1. A score of 2 is given when all indicators under 1 are rated N for no, and at least half of the indicators under 3 are rated yes. But we can't do that. These are all rated yes. A score of 4 is given when all indicators under 1 are rated no, all indicators under 3 are rated yes, and we have, and hang on, are rated yes, and at least half of the indicators under 5 are rated yes. And you'll notice 2 of these are rated yes, 1 is a no, so that's why we go to 4. And that the 4 is circled. Any thoughts on how we got to the 4?
This is kind of like if you do at Eckers.
Yes. And
Okay, so I had to do that last semester.
Exactly like the Eckers or the Itters, if any of you have done the Itters.
Okay.
Exactly the same format even for the paper. Okay. All right.
It makes it seem a little easier now.
Exactly. I'm so glad you noticed that. Yes. So you've done this before.
Just last semester, and when I first looked at it, I was kind of like, oh, this is a lot. But once you get into it, it's not that bad.
No, you're right. You're right. And we're going to keep going. A score of 5 is given when all indicators under 1 are rated no, and all indicators under 3 and 5 are rated yes. A 6 is given when all indicators are under 1 are no, all indicators under 3 and 5 are yes, and at least half the indicators under 7 are yes. And then, of course, a perfect 7 if you have all yeses in the right spots and nos on the inadequate. Okay. So past this, scoring example. This is a page that I did, my own example. Why is it a 2?
Is it because there's all no's and then inadequate, and then there's half and
More than half.
3? Yeah, more than half.
More than half. Exactly. Exactly right. You're already a master scorer. There you go. Yes. And notice that I made notes so that I would, my memory's terrible. So I have to make notes to myself when I go to an early childhood center and look at them, because I'll never remember what all to write down. Why is this a 6?
Is it because there's one no in the column 7?
Right. More than half of column 7 is a yes. More than half. Absolutely right. And again, I had to make lots of notes to myself so I would remember something for my report. And it doesn't matter how messy you write. Trust me, I can decipher almost anything. I taught first grade for years. I can read anything. Okay, so then, move this up out of the way. Okay. Once you've done your observation and you go home, you don't have to score it while you're there. Just do your observation, put your yes and no's in, and write your notes. Then once you get home, sit down, get a cup of coffee, and then you can start scoring. So you circle the final score for all pages 1 through 25 in the gray box. Use the guidelines. Once you've got that done, scan completed pages 1 through 25 into a single document and label the file PAS workbook and save it on your computer. Next, you're going to go to page 66 in your PAS workbook. It's near the end. This is the page. If you were actually doing this, this would be sort of your page that tells it all. This is your final evaluation page. If you were handing this to a director, that's what it would look like. So you're going to put the name of the program and the date you did your observation. And then you're going to plot out your scores for 1 through 25 on this profile form. It's going to look like that. Well, I don't know what yours will look like. That's what the example looks like. You're going to total up all your PAS scores, you know, the ones you circled, the 2 from page 1 and the 3 from page 2, and so on and so forth. You'll total all those up. These folks got 99 for their total. And notice they only had 24 items when they're really 25 pages. But there was one that they did not plot out. If there's one, and they'll tell you on the page, this can be omitted if it doesn't apply to where you're at, then just omit that and write on the page omitted. Normally, you would have 25. And then make sure you get your average PAS score for the whole, average it out. Because that's really meaningful. You know, when you think that 7 is the where you're really wanting to be, or 6 or 7, 5 is sort of average C level. A 4.13 is not very great. That's not where you really want to be. And you notice they had some rather low scores here in their staffing patterns and scheduling. And then they had down here with the assistant teacher. And notice it says NA is not allowed. Some of them are absolute requirements. Any questions about this page? Okay. So once you get this done, you're going to scan it and label it PAS profile form and save it to your computer. Because you'll need this later. And I'm going to post this PowerPoint. It'll all be on your website. Everything's going out, even the video too. Not till tomorrow though. It's too late to do that tonight. Okay, so now let's move on. Plot the scores. Okay. Next, you've got all your data and all your notes and all your numbers. Now you're going to do something with it. You're going to write a report. And this is kind of a lengthy report because you're going to do each of those subscale areas 1 through 25 separately. Okay. So you're going to start out, it's going to look like this. I don't know, can you hear? Okay, I have, there we go. Now you're across the top. I was blocking my letters here. All right, start out with the main headings. The first main heading when you look in your book is human resources. And then I like things bolded and organized. I don't know, you can organize it in your own fashion. This is just my way of doing it when I'm writing. So then when I looked at hiring and orientation, number one on page, the first one, I scored a 5. This is my sample. Then in paragraph format, I'm going to write what was good about this section. Some of the things had yeses, so they must have been really nice. And what items were scored below 5? Did you have any 4s? Did you have any 3s, any 2s, any 1s on page 1? If you have anything that was scored below 5, make specific recommendations for each item scoring below 5. What can they do to improve that area so it would score, at least a 5 next time? Once you've done that, go to the next page. Item 2, supervision and performance appraisal. That scored a 3. Ooh. Again, write in paragraph format what was good. They might have had some good yeses. Explain what items were below 5. Make specific recommendations for each item scoring below 5. This is just like the Eckers when it comes to that. For those of you who've done the Eckers. And then you continue as above for each of the 9 sections and 25 subscale items. At the end of the paper, please write an additional paragraph, and you really just need a paragraph, explaining why assessment tools such as the PAS are important in evaluating developmentally effective learning environments, with 3 to 4 examples from relevant sub-areas. Just give me some examples that lead you to believe this is important. Either what you found or what you didn't find and wish you would have found. And here it is, very specific. And yes, the written report is quite lengthy. Do you remember how long your written report was?
I think mine was like 10 pages.
Okay. And don't worry about going over. Yeah, don't worry about going over. It just, some people are very wordy, and I've had them as long as 20 or more. I've had them as short as 8 or 10. People talk differently and they write differently.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I did mine, I think mine was like 18 pages. I'm
Totally,
one of the wordy ones.
Totally fine. I understand. I've seen them either way, and they're fine. I was telling you, don't worry, it's fine. Just put in there what you need to put in there. Okay. And then, so we've covered that. You're almost done, but you're not done yet. I want you to go to the grading rubric. It's in assignments on Blackboard. It's in your syllabus, and grade it yourself. Read it from top to bottom and grade it yourself. Because that is the best way not to be blindsided with, oh my gosh, I left that off. Okay. That's why I put it in there, so people know. And then you go to Blackboard and go to the PAS and download 3 different things. The program admissions scale score sheets, that's one file. The PAS profile form is another file. That's the graph. And the written report. 3 separate files. And that's it. Any questions? Please give me lots of questions.
Did you say whether or not we needed to go to like a daycare center or like an early childhood center at a public school?
Any center you want to go to is fine with me, as long as it's early childhood. And as long as it's, as long as it's within the age group that we're doing, you want to do, you can do 3 years old through 8 years old.
Okay.
So if I go to work and do this, would I go to my admin, like the super who does the hiring, or the HR that does the hiring, or would I do like my principal? That's where I was kind of struggling, was trying to figure that. So I was trying to figure out, do I need to just take some time off and go to the daycare we have in town, or should I try to do it?
It would be more interesting to do the daycare in town.
Okay, that's what I'll plan on then.
Much more interesting.
Okay.
Public school, it tends to be much more convoluted because of the way they get their money and, their hiring and so on and so forth. It is much more interesting to go to a small center where they make all their own rules.
That was one question, or the biggest question I had.
Now, if you can't get into one, of course you do it where you can.
Okay.
But as far as something to learn from, a small center is a much better choice.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. And there are a lot of them around. Any other thoughts?
I'm drawing a blank. Sorry, ladies.
And that's okay. And that's okay. I am always available, and we can Zoom anytime, and in the evening and on the weekends. And yeah, because I know you all work. And so, yeah. And if anyone would like to stay on Zoom after I turn the recording off, which I'm about to turn the recording off, and has questions about other assignments or anything else, I'll be happy to stay and visit. I am going to stop recording.